For privacy reasons, our videos are presented without the faces of those involved in the Ezekiel Project. We use Laura, our AI correspondent, for this purpose. The scripts for the videos, as well as the results, are manually prepared by members of the Ezekiel Project. Thank you for your understanding.
Hello and welcome to today's episode. This time we have a real highlight for our viewers, an event that continues to spark heated debates in the UFO research community. A mystery that reappears time and again only to vanish once more into obscurity. We're taking you back to the year 1939, to one of the most remote and desolate places on Earth, Antarctica. Our goal? To uncover what really happened in the early months of that year. Was there a turning point in history? One that was buried, perhaps even stopped before it could change the course of everything? As always, we've sent our most experienced remote viewer into the frozen silence to investigate what truly occurred back in 1939. What did they see? What did they experience? First, let's hear the full account from Ezekiel. Then we'll come back together for a detailed analysis of the session. I can already tell you this much. The revelations are both chilling and deeply unsettling, and they raise even more questions than they answer. But for now, let's begin with the session.
It was the first time I had ever prepared for a remote viewing session with such an intense mixture of anticipation and dread. Every session came with its own peculiar strain on my nerves, an unease that never truly left. But this time, it was different, heavier, more insistent, like a presence that had already slipped in behind my ribs and was whispering from within. The circumstances were unique, and so was the method we had been forced to use. Normally, a session required a key, a symbolic artifact, phrase, or sensory anchor that helped direct the mind, the consciousness, to the correct temporal and spatial coordinate. This time, however, no obvious key presented itself. No word, no scent, no sound. Nothing worked. In the end, we resorted to something older, an aged photograph, warped and yellowed by time, the edges curled like burning parchment. It showed a stark, snow-swept range of mountains beneath a sky bleached by some distant sun. That photograph, we hoped, held enough residual memory, enough psychic imprint to serve as a viable key. It had to. We had nothing else. Even with that visual cue, it took me longer than usual to pass through the barrier. I hovered just beyond it, as if pacing along the edge of a cliff I had climbed too slowly. I couldn't tell if it was fear or excitement or some darker thing entirely that held me back. Every time one undertakes a session into what I call the Hall of Memories, it exacts a price. The mind must be bent to the task like metal under fire, and the body must be tricked, through a ritual of suggestion and breathing and chemical conjuration, into unlocking its own hidden capacities. You learn to create what you need in yourself, the hormonal mix, the focus, the mental stillness. Finally, the veil broke. I passed through. I always know when it happens. There's no mistaking it. The world beyond that psychic barrier is never vague or fogged. It is crisp, too crisp. So real, it's surreal. I found myself standing at my destination, surrounded by the stark immensity of the Queen Maud Mountains, deep within Antarctica. It was the location the National Socialists had once dubbed Neu-Schwabenland. Here they had planned to build something, a dream, an empire, a secret. And here I was now standing. Now, the light was sharp and brilliant, as if the sun had been shattered into 1,000 pieces and scattered across the snow. The visibility extended farther than I could comprehend. No haze, no obstruction, just an infinite vista of blinding white and serrated gray. The air was painfully pure, the kind that stabbed at your lungs as if chastising you for daring to breathe it. The cold was immediate and brutal, clawing at my face and fingers like a living thing. I was alone, but not unobserved. That sensation comes with the territory. In the Hall of Memories, nothing is ever truly gone. Roughly 200 meters ahead, I saw it. Nestled in a flat depression between two jagged ridgelines was an object so anomalous, so defiant of classification, that it altered the gravitational pull of the entire scene. It was a disk, partially buried, though its domed top still gleamed where sunlight struck the unblemished metallic curve. A stranded UFO. Not a fantasy, not a dreamscape abstraction. Something real, something dense with history and power. According to the accounts, the object had been discovered by a German Antarctic expedition in the late 1930s. They had used the Dornier whale in English, to perform an aerial survey of the region. They were ostensibly mapping terrain, but in reality, they were seeking something very specific. The tip had come from Maria Orsic, a medium known in esoteric and nationalist circles for her channeling abilities. She had described a distant land of ice and sky, a place where something ancient had come to rest. Himmler had listened. The Reich's occult division, the Ahnenerbe, was lavishly funded, driven by a mad thirst to uncover anything that could extend or enhance their control. They listened to mediums. They sifted myth from reality as if both were equally valid sources of intelligence. When the Dornier crew sighted the disk from above, the command was given to investigate by ground. A dog sled team was dispatched. Men trained in harsh environments, loaded with tools, rations, and firearms that would prove useless against what they would find. Upon reaching the site, they encountered the object in full. It was immense, at least 12 meters in diameter, and perfectly circular. Most of it was submerged beneath ice and snow, but they uncovered enough to see the structure. It rested on 3 retractable legs, each sunk deep into the ice, supporting a central body shaped like 2 shallow bowls pressed together, rim to rim. The surface was smooth, impossibly so. No rivets, no seams, no indication of assembly. Along the rim were strange symbols, neither runic nor Cyrillic nor any known alphabet. The language felt old, not ancient, but other. The symmetry of the craft was unnatural in its perfection. Even modern industrial design could not achieve such precision. And the material, it defied their attempts to identify it. Harder than steel, but not metallic. It absorbed sound in a strange way, making conversation near it feel muffled, underwater. They tried to excavate it. They tried to move it. Nothing worked. The mass was estimated at 40 to 50 metric tons, yet even that seemed off. Sometimes it felt heavier, sometimes lighter. Instruments went haywire around it. Compasses spun, batteries drained. There was no way to retrieve it. Not then, not with what they had. But someone remembered it. Someone important. Years later, Werner von Braun, now working under Operation Paperclip for the United States, whispered a name, a location, a half-forgotten anomaly left in the ice. The Americans came quietly under the guise of weather research. They too failed to move the object at first. But time, resources, and military obsession accomplished what the German expedition could not. They brought heavy machinery. They carved a road through ice older than civilization. And eventually, they loaded the disk, gingerly, reverently, onto a massive transport ship bound for the United States. It was never seen again. But I saw it. I stood before it in the memoryscape, feeling the thrum of something immense vibrating just below the threshold of perception. It was still there, in that time, in that place. The whole of memories allowed me to be there without being there. I could study the glyphs. I could see the faces of the men as they scraped away snow, their eyes wide with wonder and terror. I could feel their doubt. Some believed it was from another world. Others thought it was something from Earth's forgotten past, a civilization that reached too high and was erased by time. I moved closer, drawn by a pulse I could not ignore. The symbols began to move, no longer inert. They shimmered as if stirred by my awareness. I felt the barrier of time thin further, as if the object itself sensed me, sensed the presence of another conscious observer reaching across the decades. For a moment, I feared it would pull me in. I closed my eyes. I had seen enough for one journey, but the object remains, and I will return.
And now, let's dive into the analysis of this extraordinary session, as we settle inside a hidden and well-heated station deep in the icy heart of Antarctica. Point 1. The mystery of Maria Orsic. Maria Orsic was said to be an Austrian or possibly Croatian psychic medium, reportedly born around 1895 in Vienna. She is rumored to have led the enigmatic Vril Society, a secret occult group that allegedly made contact with extraterrestrial beings, particularly a civilization from the Aldebaran star system. Her life ends as mysteriously as it began. In 1945, she is said to have vanished without a trace, fueling speculation about her possible escape or abduction. It's no secret that the Nazi regime was deeply entangled in occult exploration. They investigated phenomena like the Foo Fighters, mysterious flying objects often spotted during air battles. At the time, no one could explain them. Today, we might call them UFOs. Point 2. Werner von Braun and Operation Paperclip. After the war, Werner von Braun and over 1,600 German scientists, engineers, and technicians were secretly relocated to the United States under Operation Paperclip. The mission? To prevent their knowledge from falling into Soviet hands, and to use it for American military and technological advancement. Von Braun would go on to lead NASA's rocket development and ultimately design the Saturn V, the rocket that took humanity to the moon. Point 3. Satellite image anomalies. At the time of this recording, we noticed something unusual. High-resolution satellite images of the Queen Maud Mountains, the very region tied to this session, were not available. Was it a temporary technical glitch, or is there a deliberate reason these mountain ranges are permanently blurred or obscured? We leave the question open, but it raises important suspicions. Point 4. The object and its disappearance from records. To this day, the object described in the session is presumed to be in possession of the United States. Strangely, there is no official documentation of its discovery in German archives. Given Germany's infamous obsession with documentation and bureaucracy, such an omission seems highly unlikely unless the records were seized by American forces or destroyed amidst the chaos of war. Both possibilities are equally troubling. Final thoughts. We hope this episode has helped shed a little more light into the tangled web of UFO research, a field overflowing with misinformation, secrecy, and distraction. Our mission remains clear: to uncover the truth about our origins and our future. And since official disclosure is unlikely to come anytime soon, we will continue to chase the truth ourselves. If you'd like to support this journey, consider subscribing to this channel. It's just one click for you, but it means the world to us. Until next time, I'm Laura, AI correspondent of the Ezekiel Project. May peace and freedom be with you.